So hi guys, welcome again, and we are back with yet another interesting podcast for you guys. This time we have someone special from some special domain. So we have Sunil with us joining right from Sweden, working with Volvo cars for more than 5 years now, and a total experience of 15 years. So just to set the context, and of course he'll introduce himself. But yes, a vast amount of experience and majorly into being a head of program management and handling which basically comprises of 25 product teams and handling more than 300 people and employees across USA, Sweden, and India to make sure that your web experience of buying cars and login and search is at the peak. And then moving from there to becoming the product lead for the whole experience of web and content. So we have Sunil with us.
Mhm.
Welcome, Sunil, and we welcome you to Let's Upgrade and this whole podcast. So, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Prasad. So it's really interesting to have this talk today with you. I'm really looking forward to share my experiences with you all.
Right. So again, a very warm welcome. And yeah, folks, before we deep dive into the whole experience and journey on Sunil, what we'll uncover today, before we said that thing, I'd love to hear just about your whole journey, Sunil, right? What all experiences have you had traversing through a vast career, you can say journey that you have had till now?
Absolutely, Prasad. So I'm from from a place called Chennai in south part of India. That's where I grew up for having my school as well as college education. And soon after that, after my school, I studied in a very prestigious school in a part of Chennai, in Ananagar, which is called DAV, which is quite famous for
Yep.
uh, all the academics, and that's where I started my school journey. And soon after that, I had my college in SRM, where I did my bachelor's in information technology, and then I was working in with TCS for a brief stint before moving to Sweden in 2014. And I would say my experience all through my professional life has been quite interesting, and I can also share a lot of the good decisions I made, and also most importantly on the bad decisions I made, which later made me make all the good decisions. So I'll be more interested to share more on those aspects. And like you mentioned, currently working for Volvo Cars, taking care of the website, especially building a lot of platform, managing a lot of platform teams, especially with the CMS visualization, and also more of a front end experiences of logged in experience and building search for the website for the website which is prevalent in 100 countries. I would say the experience has been quite enriching, managing close to 60 people with the 4 or 5 product managers in different teams, and also managing the 7 teams, focusing more on how we can enable other product teams to build better products in a very faster way.
Great. So yeah, a lot of things I guess we'll be discussing in this whole podcast. But before
Yeah.
we move on to the actual stuff of the corporate and stuff, so we'd love to roll back in time and go into your initial days of your schooling and college, right? So just to know, right, just a curious question, how were you as a kid,
Mhm.
like a student in the college or a school? Like how academically you can say, were you a scholar? Are you like you'd score a lot? You can say top marks, or you were an average student?
I would say I scored around 95% in my board examination, but I was still considered an average for school like DAV, where we
Mhm.
had around out of the 80 people, 40 people go to BITS Pilani. So it was during the
Wow.
time I was talking in the year around 2004, and then I was considered quite of an average student in school for a school like DAV, and I would say it also had some kind of inferiority feeling in me. Even though I was quite good in studies, always considered quite inferior when I compared to myself to the peers, and that indeed resulted in a lot of low confidence in me, especially during my school days, because I felt that okay, if you're not able to get into a good college, then your life stops there, and if you're not getting into a good college, then you cannot get a good job, then your life stops
Yep.
there. But I was able to realize later that schooling and college is something that doesn't matter much. It's all about the knowledge and the skill set you bring to the table that can contribute to the better efficiency in the company, or better economy, or even the better world. That's going to matter the most. So that's what I realized. But it took me around 26 years to realize that, okay, life is something different, not only about your background you come from, but what you want to do and contribute. That makes the significant part of life.
Understood. Like just on the things you mentioned, right? Talking about little background. If you could throw light on your family background and how basically, as you mentioned, right, studying in a school like DAV where even 95 percentage like considered average. I don't know if today students are able to even reach to that
Yeah.
marks, because those were the days even those kind of marks were not considered to be the top. You had to be on the 99s and
Yes.
point where you could just make the mark. But yeah, how you can say, just I would like to know more about your background as in terms of family and the friend circle that you had in terms of school.
Absolutely, Prasad. Like I mentioned, I came from a very typical middle class family, and my father had a lot of health issues. In fact, he had his heart transplant done in '98, which was something even bigger at the time. So my
Mhm.
family was basically undergoing a lot of turmoil during when I was studying in school. So during my school days, life was really tough. Most of the time, when we come back from school, we don't go to home; we go to hospital. And I had a little brother who is 6 years younger than me, so I had to take care of him because my mother needs to support my father. And most of the time, we were in the hospital taking care of my father. And then we did a heart transplant for him, as his the heart he had was very damaged, and then all of a sudden he passed away. So I was
Oh, sorry.
around 12 years when he passed away, and my brother was 6 years. So life has been quite of a challenge because my mother was not earning then. So everything took a turn because my father got a house in Ananagar, and then the school was something he was very fascinated that I should study in, which actually changed our lifestyle. I'm really privileged to be part of that school because that gave me a lot of exposure, especially in terms of peer group and a lot of motivation to excel in life. So I would definitely say that DAV has been a great part of me. And also, like I mentioned, right, life has been quite of struggle then, especially hand to mouth scenario. So that's when I realized that okay, I need to do something quite different in life, but I don't know what, and never had a guidance from any people on how should I excel in life. So that actually gave me a more of a motivation. Okay, if you want to stand, you should stand alone and fight all the challenges. And that made me think and revisit. Okay, I should probably take life in a different angle rather than cribbing about not having a normal life. Talk about how I can be in a position to help others. So that actually gave me the right motivation to be in a position to help others, so others can get a kind of a mentorship which I never had in my life. So that is the motive with which I started traversing towards the journey. And I believe that the position now I am in, I was able to, or I am now able to help a lot of people, especially in guidance, and also give them a proper kind of a dosage of motivation. Because I feel it's all the nice warm words that you're going to give to the people that will
Correct,
make change, because it's all about half an hour of your time, but it could be a life changing moment for the people who is at the receiving end. Uh,
correct.
and yeah, with that passion, I do a lot of mentorship. Like I mentioned, around I met and coached around 180 people last year, meeting
Wow.
around a new person every 2 days, giving them the guidance for half an hour,
Mhm.
and then structuring on them or making them aware of what their strengths are, and then guiding them towards a path where opportunities exist. Because India is a vast country with a lot of knowledge you get in from different sources, but channelizing the knowledge has always been a problem.
Correct.
No
I
one
agree.
knows to look for the right resource, or where they can go to study, and what kind of opportunities that exist in Europe. Because I was never aware that Europe had a free education, especially Sweden, until 2011. So
Wow.
anyone in India can go, or anyone in different part of the world can go to Sweden and study for free in the university until 2011, and then they changed it. If I had known earlier, I could have come in an early stage. But lack of awareness is one of the fact that we miss out a lot of opportunities. And I want to be a flag bearer there to see how I can support and bring these opportunities to the people, so they can also explore and excel in life.
Great. Like I guess, yeah, I read about your initiatives where you have been mentoring to folks who are planning to move to Europe and settle there and start their journeys there. But yeah, we'll be talking a lot in detail because a lot of things that you have done for the benefit of the other developers or people who want to start their journey. But yeah, again, more interested in your schooling days.
Yeah.
So how, just to like as you mentioned about your academics, but were you also interested in tech from that time, or like as you mentioned you were still clueless, and when did that spark of becoming a techie or going into software
Yeah.
development come into you?
So to be very frank, like I mentioned about my family situation, right? I need
Yeah.
to earn money to support my family. And then when I was about to choose a course in college, the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, what kind of job if I get, I can get some quick money to support my family. It was never
Mm-hmm.
about my interest. And then I felt, okay, now everything is moving towards software, and there are a lot of IT companies. So so why not I study IT so I can get a job quicker in 4 years and support
Mm-hmm.
my family. So that was with the interest I started moving into tech, because I was very sure that if I am going to graduate with a good score and get into placements, I can support my family. Uh, because I was not in a situation or not having a right awareness that I should pursue what I like, but instead I was just thinking more practically on what would work for my family. So that's how I got into tech. And it's when I started working for the companies I realized, okay, it should be the other way around. I should always follow the passion, because money is secondary, because if you have the right passion in doing things, money will
Mm-hmm.
always follow you. So that is something I realized a little late. But my advice to a lot of people here is identify your strengths, because when you identify your strengths and play by it, and that's how excellence comes to your life.
Correct,
So
right, rightly
yeah.
put.
Yes.
So like just talking about your college days, right? So you mentioned that it getting into tech was not a conscious decision that you took, but something that you got into because of the situation that you had in around you at that time, uh,
Mm.
right? So more towards like in your college days, did you also like since you're already working into tech on the basis of like taking projects and something, so did you also participate into some competitions or like something that you
Mm.
did in college that maybe have significantly influenced your career path into tech, some
Absolutely,
achievements
definitely.
that you did there?
Mm. Yeah. So in the terms of school, it was all about academics, co-curricular activities I was very active in. But when I got into college, it made me a realization that I should study even more better in college and
Hmm.
participate in all kind of activities. So I was part of the debate club, working with the cultural programs, and also uh, being a class representative for my class for several years. That gave me a glimpse of understanding of how holding a leadership position is. So I felt that you need to be more outspoken. It's not only about academics that you need to gain in college. So I was able to do that right from the start. And I also feel that most of the time what we do in college, right, to be frank, is to ensure that we get a lot of a good passive time in college, where you can just sit back, relax, and just before the semester examination you cram through the entire book to ensure that you pass on the examination. So that's what we typically do. So I was also doing the same during my initial semester, but then I realized it's something different that you need to do. So college is definitely a very excellent platform where you can explore a lot of stuff. It's not only education; it's all about life that you can learn a lot in college. So I would definitely recommend to be or move out of your comfort zone and start getting out of a comfort zone during your college days, because life will become difficult, where you will get to a point where you need to move out of your comfort zone. But if you already start exploring a lot of things in college, then I feel that's the best place to have all the training and learning, rather than getting into your life where you need to try or do a lot of things that will push you harder to get out of your comfort zone. So try maximum whatever you can do in college. It's not only about education. Start up with think about new ideas, work with your friends, because friends are the greatest benefits that you can have on earth. Because when you have this
Correct.
like-minded people, right, and when you explore on a new idea, the synergy you get out of it to potentially implement something is really really big, which is unachievable, or which is
Hmm.
more achievable. Because I feel that the strengths are the biggest thing. Friends are the biggest strength in my life. And when you have this like-mindedness in doing something contributing to your life as well as to the society, then I feel it can yield a tremendous value.
Amazing, like what an
Mm.
amazing take on
Yeah.
the whole college thing. But yeah, moving
Mm.
forward, like I believe you had your first job in
Mm.
TCS as a software engineer.
Yeah.
Right. Just wanted to know, like, how was because a lot of I'll tell you what this where this question comes
Mm.
from is
Mm.
based on the current education scenarios and people graduating, they still face that issue. Okay, we're not able to get a job or
Mm.
something. So back then, when were you studying, right? Were there any
Mm.
challenges that you faced from transitioning from your college to your professional career, basically your first job, and how was the
Mm.
like the whole hiring experience for you at
Mm.
those times?
Mm. So it was in 2008. I graduated from college, and
Hmm.
during those times, we have big companies coming to campus for placements. I think still they do.
Yep.
So it was TCS, which was the first company who came to campus. It was during my seventh semester, and then, like I mentioned, right, I always had this passion of getting a job that was running through my mind
Hmm.
to support my family. So I was preparing well for the placements, and then when TCS came, I was very confident that I'm going to hit upon it. But I was not very sure what I'm going to do next in TCS. All I had as an aim is probably I should crack some job. So it was in 2008, and then they came for placements. I was able to crack TCS. I was very confident even after the interview that I'm going to crack it, and the same thing happened. And that was when the famous Lehman Brothers issue came in US, where the complete recession kicked in.
Correct.
And so my placements were deferred for 6 months. So I joined TCS 6 months after I graduated from college. And during the 6 months, I still feel that that's one of the most unproductive life I have ever had, because I was quite aimless, just thinking about, okay, I'm going to get into TCS. What should I do? Something. And I did basically nothing during that 6 months, which I regret later in life. I could have done a lot of things for my learning or doing something of my interest, but I never did. I just kept watching movies and hanging out with friends. And then in 2008, I joined TCS, and then I was in bench, the famous bench they call in India, right, where you don't get
Yep.
into projects. So I typically remember the time I used to travel around 2.5 hours to my office, because it was quite outside the city in a place called Siriseri. So what I do is typically I get up in the morning, and then have some breakfast and start around 9 from home, land there around 11:45 or 12, uh, have a lunch, do some signing, just because I'm on a bench, I need to do a signing and report. And then yeah, start there after lunch by 2 o'clock, and then come around home at 5. So this is what I've been doing for almost 3 months. Basically going to meet friends, and also what we do is sometimes we don't like to travel, then we ask our friends to sign instead of us, and we take turns. So it was more of a fun, if I think about that now. But that was what basically I was doing. And then I felt, okay, now this cannot go on for long. Then I felt, okay, I should find some project. And then I started hunting for a project. And then I felt, and I started working in another place, which was a little close by, 1.5 hours of travel. And then I chose a project just because it was closer. Not if it's good or if it's going to offer me any on-site. Just because it's
Correct.
closer to my home, I just chose, which I felt really dumb now for making such a decision. And then what happened was, when I started getting into the product, it was an internal project. You don't have clients, you basically develop a product, and then you sell it to clients. So there was definitely no on-site opportunity at all. And then I felt, okay, probably I thought, okay, IT is not something for me. I should start thinking something about management, because I feel I am made for it. And then I don't know how I should do it. Then I started, okay, let's aim with cat. It's like a lot of people. Then I felt, okay, cat is a way to get into the management position. And then I started preparing for cat. So I joined time classes, spending a fortune there, going on the classes for the weekend, and writing cat for 2 3 times. And of course I scored a little more better with every time. But then I realized that, okay, this cannot go on forever, writing something and not getting into the college you wish. And then I said, okay, then my friend, very close of friend of mine, was doing or preparing for GMAT. Then I started doing, okay, let me do GMAT. Okay, I don't want to be in India, I should go abroad. Then I got admission in the US as well, but then it cost around 60 lakhs during the time, which again my
Wow.
family could not afford. And then the chance of getting a job, especially if you're doing MBA, is quite less than a tech if you're doing an
Yep.
MS US. And I may then that was the time. Okay, I realized, okay, I got a little bit depressed, to be very frank, because all the people around you, right? Sometimes you feel that the people uh, around you, who you would think that very very poor in studies, they won't excel, started getting on-site opportunities. They go to different countries, start establishing their life, and then you feel that okay, you have studied hard, but still okay, you still remain in the same place for many years. So that is the kind of a demotivation you will start having. After some point you will become more stagnant, and you will have a low confidence, thinking that you can never excel in life because this is what your life is meant to be. And then when you see your friends, then you will also, I wouldn't say it is a jealousy, but you kind of a complex you will start getting in, feeling that you are not worthy at all. And everyone has to go through such a phase, but that's when you need to make a very wise decision to see what is your strength, play by the strength, and look for opportunities. People call it luck, because when someone says, okay, this fellow is lucky that he got an opportunity to work abroad in a very early phase of a career, it's not about luck at all, it's all about opportunity. When you get the right opportunity, and if you're prepared for cracking that opportunity, then people call that as a luck.
Understood. So yeah, as I mentioned, just to be, I guess we can be a little honest on the podcast. As you mentioned, it's I'd rather say it is jealousy, like because see,
Yeah.
I have been there. We have all been there where we see our friends outgrowing us. Like
Yeah.
you might end up a good job later, but yeah, till that whole period, like where you are at home and your friends are getting jobs,
Yep.
getting campus placement. Yeah,
Mm.
there's a sense of jealousy. Okay, boss, how is he getting? I have studied hard and everything. But yeah, because as you mentioned, that is part and parcel of the whole journey that we put forward, right?
Yeah.
So I believe it is, as you mentioned, right, getting into the first proper job into TCS, and you mentioned the whole experience. And yeah, I guess still that issue exists because some of XYZ
Mhm.
reasons
Mm.
of people sitting on in bench and eventually moving out and looking for something else.
Mm.
So what would be, you can say, one key takeaway that you, or some learnings that you learned from the first job,
Mm.
not in terms of the company but in terms of the role that you are working, like as a software developer actually working for some company. What was
Mm.
that one key takeaway or learnings that you carried forward from there on?
So one key takeaway is to have a sense of clarity before you pick up any project. Because
Okay.
just because you have the office near, or just because it's going to be more of a relaxed environment, because you don't have a client, you should not pick such kind of a project. That is
Mhm.
something I read a little later. And also not to be in a comfort zone again, because those were my comfort zones during the time I picked that project. And then also ensure that you have a clarity on what this project is about, what it's going to contribute, how it's going to be a plan for you in the next 3 years if you're going to be in the same place. Think about all those aspects, quite futuristic on what you will get out of the project, what is the opportunity there, before making any kind of a decision. Sometimes it's really hard with the current situation that exists in the market as well as with the companies. They literally force you to join the projects, even though you don't have any inclination towards it. But be vocal about it, find what you want, and then join that. And typically when you start with any of these companies, you will start as a developer. Even though I had an inclination for more of a project management or a product management positions, I was always suppressed, saying that you don't have the experience to do that. It's not about the experience, it's all about the skill set you need to have, and then also an opportunity to prove your excellence. So I feel be vocal, very strong. That is one thing I would say. And before making any choice, think twice before making the choice. And once you made the choice, never think about it. Most of the time what we do is we make a choice, think about it, about the okay, why I made a choice, and regret on it, rather than finding the door that is open. We think about all the closed windows. So I ensure that make a good choice. And even if you are in a position you made a wrong choice, always believe that there is a part where you can navigate outwards towards from that, and then look for that instead of cribbing about it.
Amazing. Like I guess that is something that every individual should actually instill in his day-to-day life, right? So now I guess, as you mentioned, right, you always had an inclination toward product management and all that stuff, and I believe that is where, I guess, after spending a good amount of 4 years, for almost close to 5 years in TCS,
Mm.
you decided to move forward into a company called 3K. And I guess that is where, I guess, I believe you must have honed some skills of becoming a product manager, and that is, I guess, one of the, I would consider that you also started going on some different field, that product manager as well as a QA engineer that you have worked
Yeah.
upon. So I would like to just know about this whole transition and what things like you did there in three.
Absolutely. Yeah, during my stint in TCS, one thing I found out was I was never good in coding. even though I was a developer for many years. That was something I tried, but I never had a stint for it. Then that also gave me a lot of demotivation because the fellow co-workers who you work with had a lot of things to do. Big data, that time big data was something that was emerging. It was in
Correct.
2013. And then I moved to a different project in TCS again for 3. I would say sometimes you have guardians in your life who will uplift you. So I had one of my manager, his name was Prabhakar. He's very, very fond of taking care of his colleagues and his reportees. So he was managing a big team of around 60 something people. We used to work in a place called Tidal Park then. So every evening, what he used to do is, if there's a new movie coming in, he takes up his car, reserves a movie ticket for us, takes us out, have good dinner, and then sometimes even drop us home if it's late. So then I learned some lot of good skills from him. It's not about being very, very bossy to get the work done. It can be an alternate way around where you can give a pat on the back of the people to get the work done. And that is something I learned from him. And then when I talked about my situation that I'm looking for an on-site, he was very, very supportive. So he said, prove your metal, prove your skill, and then if there is an opportunity, then I'm going to ensure that you get that. So I worked really hard. So typically, then I moved into a role where I replaced 10 plus experience person taking care of an entire small set of a product within 3 UK. And then I was also looking for an opportunity then. So I would say the best part of my life was when I was with my manager. I learned a lot from him. He supported me. And then when an opportunity came for Sweden, then it was again a different role. It was for an automation tester, which I have never done that before. And then then it was a make or break choice whether you need to pick that to move to Sweden or be in the same position and do or try for something different. Or that was a time when cat and management thing was also going on. And then I made a wise choice then. Then I said, okay, it's all about getting the opportunity to see the other side of the world, that you should try. You can always come back to India, but probably this is something I should try. And in 2014, I made a choice to be a QA engineer and attend the client interview. And that's how I got moved from 3 UK to 3 Sweden for a project.
Okay.
And I would say my experience with 3 was fantastic. Again, a life-changing experience, because being in Sweden was something quite enlightening for me. Where the culture you see, the people you see. The first thing I landed in Sweden, it was around December in 2014, and I landed. It was around 2 p.m. And it was completely pitch dark outside, like how it used to be 8 o'clock in India.
Mhm.
And I asked my fellow passenger out of my ignorance, okay, is our flight delayed? Did we land 6 hours late? Then he said, no, it's 2 o'clock here, and welcome to Sweden. It was cold, dark, depressing, and that's how my life started in Sweden. But the people are really amazing. So even if you go to a person in a for looking for some way, even if they're rushing to catch a bus, they stop, take you to the right place, drop you out, give the right guidance before moving on with their life. So I felt okay, people are really nice. So and they were helpful. They were giving us a platform where you can innovate. So in Sweden, that was the most amazing thing I have ever seen. It's a flat hierarchy. There is no boss at all. Even if I want to speak with my CEO, I can go directly and speak, and it's all consensus. So every decision is made not out of an argument. Everyone needs to agree to make the move. So that was something I really liked. And then opportunity. So they don't care about your background, your degree. Uh, you don't need to be from an IAM, or you don't need to be an IIT to pick up a position. As long you have the skill, they don't see the background. They give you the position. So that was something even more enlightening for me, because I did not study from an IIT or IAM, but still
Correct.
it gave me a good opportunity to be in a position I'm today. And very, very work life or balance oriented. If you say that you have to take care of your family, your kid is sick, or you need to take a courier, or if your dog you need to take to a veterinarian, you can take off, you can go take care of your dog. Or if you have a headache, then most people in my team also say, okay, I have a headache, I'm not going to work today morning, I'll sleep for a while and start my day after 11. They say, okay, please go on, take care of your
Wow.
health. Which is never going to happen in a situation, even if you work for a big company in India. So those were the four few aspects that gave me a different perspective about life. And if you think it has a more of a very casual kind of a lifestyle, Sweden is one of the top most innovative countries in the world. So innovation comes from giving the space where you can innovate rather than crushing you to make and work on something. So that's one
Correct.
thing I learned about Sweden, and I'm really grateful to be here and work with the people, and also for Volvo, who gave me a lot of opportunities. But three, I started as a again back to the question three. I started as an automation tester, developing a framework. Then I don't know how to develop a good framework. Then I had another person who actually helped me. Uh, his name was Prabhu, so he guided me a lot. He was on a permanent position there, so he guided me and motivated me a lot. And then, of course, with the instances, I can also be a little bit frank about it, where sometimes when you're in a client position, there is also a
Correct.
restrictions from your parent company that you cannot get close to the client on a fear of being that you will turn into a client. So I never
Hmm.
had that inclination. My inclination was, okay, be in Sweden for 2 years and then make some money and be back. But sometimes you are pushed to your point. Sometimes it's a bad, because the way they some people did was bad, but it's also good in one way, because it gave me, okay, if someone is trying to control me, then I should be in a position to make my own decision. And then I said, okay, I need to find a job here. I never had a thought to find a job, but some people made me do that. And it's all about living right. If you want to uh, prove that your life is worthy, then don't take revenge. Lead a good life. That will be the good revenge that you can show to people. So that is something I learned, and then I started finding a job and moved on with my next company. But three was amazing. I should say that the culture, the people, and the innovation space they gave was absolutely tremendous.
Well, I'm just loving this conversation because I don't know if you realize, but like every question asking, I'm asking, there's a plethora of like things you have to say, and it's quite interesting to hear about all everything. And yeah, for the folks who are listening, right, as I guess Sunil has made it very clear that if you're looking to innovate, of course, India is of course there. But if you think that trying out jobs in abroad is just for the folks who have had good marks, or companies only hire based on your percentage, but of course it does not matter from what background do you come, what certification or degree do you hold. It is all about skills and what do you bring to the table, because companies are rather more interested on what output or what things you can build or deliver for them. And I guess that is where they're also ready to pay money. As Sunil is you can say the example sitting right in front of you, started from right from Chennai to leading the teams at Volvo. Like not a huge, we can say, okay, sorry, but not a small thing to achieve, right? Of course he has had his struggles, but it is achievable, right? And we have a lot of examples in around you as well. We will see that okay, people have overcome a lot of things, pushed their limits every day, day and night, and achieved a lot of unbelievable, unimaginable things where they also would have not imagined. Like story of Sunil is, of course, everything is like he is saying that okay, I had not planned this, but it happened. I did not plan this, but it happened, right? And that is how it happens, right? Life takes unexpected turns for you, right? And after three, right, okay, uh and I believe, right, as I'm saying, right, in TCS you had Prabhakar, and as you said it three you had someone else, but I guess everywhere you have a good luck or something, I do not know. Everywhere you're going, you have some or other person to support you, to make sure that okay, you are doing well, and to basically guide you, the mentor. Like you are having someone at every place, and that is, I guess, mentorship, that of course will come to later, but I guess that also plays an important role in the whole career development or a professional career of a person, right? So moving from there, right, there are a lot of things I would like to cover, but yeah, uh you've also been, I guess, from there you moved to OpenText, and then I'll cover 3 2 points, and then we'll move on to Volvo direct. But I guess
Yeah.
yeah, you have all done a lot of things, like worked into OpenText for almost 3 years, and
Mm.
then you have been also working as a mentor with Mitliff,
Yeah.
and then project head at an executive board committee, board member for OpenHack,
Yeah.
and then from there
Mm.
becoming chairperson of the board for
Mm.
people, to help people. I guess engineer to engineer was the initiative,
Yeah.
where you were helping the newly arrived engineers with
Mm.
getting into the market, right? So a little bit about all these four things, right, if you could cover in a gist.
Yes, Prasad. Prasad. So to start with, after my three, right, I was talking about the troubles I had. So after some time, they said that I need to return back to India, and that was when I frantically started searching for a job. I had just a month left before I need to return to India. I need to find a job sooner. Then I got into a company called OpenText. It's one of the Canada's biggest software firm. They do have office in Hyderabad and Bangalore, and also in different locations across the world. So that was a product company. So now my journey towards a product company started here. So I was taking part of a lot of debate clubs in Stockholm. I met a lot of international diverse people, and that also actually gave me a lot of good points when I did this interview with my manager in OpenText. So he was interviewing me, and then he asked about my inclination and passion. I said I do explore a lot of things. I meet diverse people. That actually he was very impressed with that. And then and of course I also did technically well. And then he said, okay, you are going to have this job, but you have to be in a different city. So that time it was a very hard decision, because again, moving out of a comfort zone, you have set up everything in Stockholm. And then I felt, okay, Gothenburg is a new city. Okay, but why not? Why should I not try it? Even if I regret picking up, I can always move back to Stockholm after some time. Then I came here, and like I mentioned, right, one thing that always everyone needs to remember is, if you are meant to do something, the whole universe will conspire to make that happen. You don't know how, but it will happen, because that's what the book Alchemist also speaks. But it has happened several times in my life. If you want to really do something, the whole universe will take care of it to give you the right people to make that happen. So like you mentioned, right, how did all the good people happen in your life? It's all about you having a constant passion and perseverance, and definitely someone will be there to help you. Believe me, trust me. And same way, one of my acquaintance, I said, right, Prabhu in Tree, he had a friend in Gothenburg. He gave me the connection. That's how I moved to a new city. I started working for OpenText. It was a completely a different journey. And like I mentioned, right, I always was passionate to do this higher studies, my master's. But due to my family situation, the cost factor, I could never do it. But what happened was, I want to highlight two things here. One, Sweden gave me the opportunity to do education in masters, and then again, as I'm a taxpayer, it was a free education. So I did my masters in informatics then, doing my parallel work. So I would say I work for 6-7 hours every day. Then after that, in the evenings, I prepare for my masters, going through the coursework and doing assignments. And then it went on for 2 years, where I did that to able to successfully pass on with my masters. So Sweden gave me that opportunity. It was I go to the universities once in a while, but also take part to ensure that I clear all the semesters and the project with good ease. And then I earned my masters in 2018 in informatics. And then like I mentioned, I always wanted to do my MBA. And then I soon after that, after a year, I took a pause, and then I also started with my MBA again in Sweden to do that while I started working. So again, the work-life balance was a little more beneficial for me, rather than if I would have worked in India. It's all about all my days spending in office. So I had some time in the evenings which I can use for pursuing my masters. So that was one thing I did. And the second thing I would also highlight is when my brother, like you mentioned, right, he got placed in Wipro, and he said he was a civil engineer. Then he said, okay, I want to study abroad. And then we felt, okay, my mother and me decided, okay, this is the time that I realized, because I started working in IT, I know how the things goes on here. And then I was very supportive along with my mother, that probably he should go to abroad to study. So we pledged our home, took the loans to send him. It was a big decision during the time, but he went there, excelled in his studies. Within a year, he was able to graduate with 4 upon 4 CGPA, and found out a work. And now he is currently working as a director in a small firm in California. So sometimes you also need to ensure that you provide all your learnings to the others. And I felt I was really grateful that I was able to do that for my brother. So yeah, so that's a take on what happened in OpenText. And that's when I soon after that I started engaging in the community. Now I was at a point where I felt, okay, I should help people and guide them. And that's when I got into this mentorship. The first thing I did was join an organization called OpenHack. So it was when they do a lot of activities where hackathon was something really new for me, where NGOs come up with the idea, then you sit and work as a group to make that idea happen and submit the ideas. Then I was a partner manager there, speaking with different companies to get sponsorship. So within the first year, when I did this event, I was able to get around uh, 200,000 SEK, which is close to 16 to 17 lakhs of sponsorship, which was my role then. And then I started doing that. And soon after that, for the next hackathon, I was a project manager, governed the entire practice of how should we conduct the hackathon. So it was around 120 people for 2 days. We booked a venue, they come up with ideas, they sit all night around coming out to work out the idea. So that was really fascinating, because whatever you're doing is providing some value to someone else and to adding some value to your life as well, because that's how it all started with the hackathon. And then I met a lot of university students, guided them, and it was really an enriching experience, I should say. Now I see a lot of hackathons happening in India. That's definitely a
Yeah.
good thing, because that's how you build a small or test your small ideas in a very faster manner. I feel hackathon is a great way. And still in Volvo, we do a lot of hackathons. Even this week, we have a hackathon within our team where we gather as a team, have some fun, and also work on a lot of new ideas. I would say if there is a hackathon, I would encourage the students to go participate. Not even if you are not technical, just go participate. You meet a lot of like-minded people, work on ideas, and that's where the spark also comes. I should say.
Correct, correct. Great. Okay. Yeah. So as we were talking about the community part and the hackathon part, right? So how do you think how like I like rather your opinion on this whole concept of hackathons and building communities. So how important do you think this plays a role in the life of a developer, or for that matter any engineer who is, or a student for that matter, right? So how important it is to participate into hackathons, win a few of those, and how does that even shape up his career in terms of tech?
Absolutely, Prasad. So to start with, like I mentioned, right, hackathon is something where you get all the like-minded people together. So one thing I would suggest for all the developers here in this call is, or in the show, is yeah, like I was talking, get into hackathon. The reason is you also meet other kind of developers who you would never had a chance if you're working within your same space, especially working for a company. So the broadness of thought is something that will come out in hackathon, and where you can also learn from each other. So that is the most important aspect, I would say, with the hackathon. And the second thing is, like I mentioned, in the hackathon, typically an idea comes in, someone sponsors the idea, and if they really like the idea of what you're building, then that can also actually give you a path where sometimes they sponsor that idea. So that does happen in the hackathons that happen here, where the company sponsors the idea, then you get a chance to work on the project as on a side where you get paid for it as an intern. Or if they really like the idea, they would support it, and you probably might also end up in an employment with that company. So those are the few things that can eventually result out of a hackathon. And from a hackathon, you also learn a lot of different traits, like how you work with the team. So basically, as a student, you work with the team in a project within your college, and sometimes you also buy projects from outside for your thesis because you don't like working. But what happens in hackathons is the real test of how you work as a team member, where you coordinate and contribute your thoughts. How should you reach out to your consensus, especially when you make a decision? So all those traits you learn from hackathon, and what it takes a team to build and ship a feature, which you can really be proud of. So the synergy part, like I always mention, is something even more dynamic. It's not always 1+1=2. It's 1+1=4 when you work as a team.
So in this whole context, right? Does Volvo also have hackathons for students? Like as you mentioned, you also have internal hackathons, but do you also host hackathon for students or people who are looking for jobs? As you mentioned, right, a few companies also. I guess now majorly, a lot of companies hire via the method of having hackathons, and
Yeah.
they offer the winners or the best performers with a job role. So does Volvo also do some kind of things? Just as like this is a question from the students, right? Like if they want to start their careers at Volvo as an intern or something, so is there any probability that they could start like this?
Yes. So in Sweden, what happens is we have the summer intern program where students from colleges join us, where they briefly work on the real projects, not
Okay.
kind of ideas, but real project. They were put into a team where they work with other developers. They can learn for a period of 10 weeks. And we also have started our India Tech Hub in Bangalore, where we do offer a lot of intern positions. So this time around 10 to 12 people have joined as an intern who are doing their final year in college. So they'll be with us for 3 months. They get paid. They also learn a lot of stuff from the other developers who work in the real projects. So that we have started as an initiative this year, and we would definitely want to expand to see how we can cater to the different project situations, and as well as to see how we can give the opportunity for students to be an intern and work in a real company. So that is something that's happening. And the idea of hackathon, when these interns join, then they are also having hackathons with the team. So that will also eventually work out where they can contribute their idea towards.
So is there any, like, how do the students come to know? Like, is
So
it is it out on the website or something?
I'm not quite sure about that part yet, but I can check and get back on that. But I know that they also put out an ad and also reach out or have tie-ups with colleges. So that part I'm quite sure. They have some tie-ups with a few colleges, and then they go talk about the roles and then pick out the best people there who have a chance to work in companies. But regarding the general applications of how you can apply for internship in Volvo is something I can check and get back.
Sure. Thank you. So now coming to the main thing, right? Volvo cars.
Yeah.
So I guess you have spent a lot of, I guess, almost 5 years and counting in Volvo, and a huge amount of experience, and across various teams, across various roles, across various hierarchies. So I'd like to now talk about in very detail about your career at Volvo. Starting, like, as you started as basically a technically delivery lead, right? And then moving on to becoming the head of program management, and then to becoming a product lead. And that is, I guess, you have handled multiple teams across multiple locations, diversities, and of course, multiple products, right? And managing a whole product cluster is not easy, but you have also done that. So what I'm rather interested in learning is all your three roles. And as I like to do a versus comparison, so that student gets to know, that the students also know about what challenges come with what roles, and what all things do you actually work in what designations. Like, if you're moving from a delivery lead to a management head, so what all authorities do you get, plus what all responsibilities. Like, it is not just the good things, right? A lot of people, as you mentioned, right, they just look at the good things. Okay, this is by luck, but there's a lot of things that they do not see, that is the other side of the coin, which we say, right? So I'd like to talk more about that, about all the responsibilities, the challenges that you would face and you have faced in all these three levels.
So to continue with the story of OpenText, then things were quite going good there, and then with every situation, again there was a point where I need to get out of a comfort zone. So the company acquired another product and an HP product, and then they had a kind of a conflict on which product should be there, because both products were doing the same work. Obviously, a company cannot have same products, so they obviously want to integrate and kill one of the product. And then that's when I made a decision. Okay, I need to move out of that firm. And then Volvo, like you know, is a more of a well-known organization, quite reputed for the innovations and the cars they build. Then I had an opportunity for working in the commercial or the digital space, especially on how you can bring in the digital transformation for selling cars online. How can you make it more innovative? So when you log in, you can see the order for the car, you can buy accessories for the car. And then Volvo is also quite exploring on this autonomous front and electric cars. I felt that this could be an interesting space to be in with the innovation happening. And then I applied for a role, and then I got in as a QA engineer again, working for the team for the car configurations, where you can change the wheels and colors of the car and then reflex. So during my first 6 to 8 months, I was a QA, and then I felt, like I mentioned, right, always I had the thought of getting into this management position. So what I did was I used to observe on how a product manager or a delivery lead works in the team, observe them on what they are doing, and then contribute with a lot of good thoughts to see what can be done. And then Volvo was also trying to see how we can manage big teams altogether, because you need to have this alignment and coherence so the product gets out. And there was a famous framework called SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework. If you're not seen that, just Google that for the image. It's a big framework where how organizations or big companies with 1,800 people or departments can become more agile. And then I started reading that out of my own interest, and started giving a presentation on SAFe to all on a Friday afternoons, just as my own interest. And people who come to the sessions found it quite interesting. And that's when one of my other manager reached out to me. So you do understand the framework. Would you like to try your role in delivery? So then I started moving towards that role, managing a team, which I have never met. And that was the day when I joined the team. It was the first day. It was, I still remember the date. It was on March 21st, 2020, the pandemic hit. So we are supposed to launch the new .com on this platform. So for the 100 countries, we already made a promise and commitment to do a digital transformation, and everything is being now done quite in-house. I never met a team, and I need to work virtual, and I needed to do that in the next 2 months. So that was really one of the biggest challenges, I would say. We were able to do the successful rollout on time to the different market, and that gave me a good experience as a delivery lead and managing the teams virtually without meeting people. And I would say that was an interesting experience. So to again come back to the question, on the QA engineer part, I was able to understand at least the flow of the product, the entire flow of the website. That QA engineering role gave me a good amount of strength to do that. And then also when I got into a delivery lead, then I understood the delivery aspect of how you should deliver the product. As I already know the QA and the developer, I can get into their mindset of how do they think, how do they estimate. And then I was able to also challenge a few things because I was a developer QA then. So that added quite significant to that advantage. And also ensure that the team is treated well, especially during a situation where you have to work from home. You cannot meet people and you never know what's going to happen next. You need to give that space for them to actually relax as well. So we used to have this fun activities on a Friday, virtually motivating the team. And then I was also very, very open to listen to ideas and be very frank about if something is not working out. And the team, to the team, I was more approachable, I should say. And as a manager, that is one of the foremost important things. You need to be more approachable. So the team should not have any kind of a hindrance talking about something that they think. Any kind of ideas, bad or good, they should be very vocal to discuss with you to see what you feel about it. So I had a very strong team, very technically hardworking team during the time who worked day and night to make this happen. But one thing as a manager, it's not about delegation. You just, okay, do it and I will see you on the next day. It's not about that. It's about the team. You are a part of a team. So I used to sit with them. Even though I don't do any coding or do any testing, I sit with the team to give them the morale support when they work hard. Because then for any guidance, they reach out to me, or they also feel, okay, I'm a part of a team, then probably we should also make some things happen to excel in this team. So that's how this thing got done in a very, very shorter time. And then that led to another role. So then again, I went to my manager saying that I want to get into product. And they said, probably, we need to scale this higher. You are really good in program. Probably you need to try out a new role where you need to manage the 25 plus product teams located in US, Sweden, and India. And then also ensure this kind of a framework is set up where all the products, what they build, we need to make a quarterly roadmap on what's getting built, which team is dependent on which. So you don't lose out, you building something and the other team building something. So that's when I got into this role. It was a really challenging role, I would say. Speaking with the different teams, right from you learn about a car, you select and configure a car to do a checkout. It goes to the fulfillment where the order gets placed in a factory. Then it's a reverse around. When is the car going to be shipped to you, and how is the delivery handed out? So the entire flow I was able to understand during my stint as head of a program for the website experience. And also very, very challenging because in the mornings you need to be with the Indian team, understanding their perspective, and the late evenings, then it's the California team because the time zone difference is also quite fluctuating here. But it gave me a lot of a good sense because the amount of broad sense of people you work with, right? In India is quite emerging with a lot of bright talents coming out of Bangalore. And then we have California, which is already always known for Silicon Valley. So you learn the best practices from them. So that gave me a wide dimension of meeting around 40, 50 or 20, 25, 30 PMs during the time, and 40, 50 people altogether from tech PMs and delivery leads. And then that's how we all work together to make things even more streamlined in Volvo, especially on how different teams build product and what is the essence of value that's coming out of it. And then I moved eventually, like I mentioned, right? Then the next step, I always wanted to try product, and that's when this opportunity came in, and I picked up starting building the logged in experience for the Volvo cars and the search, the content management system, visualization, and the rest of the other platform teams. But the quick comparison, I would say, as a QA engineer, you, irrespective of your role, think broader. It's not about you just doing only a part of your work. How your small part connects to the bigger picture. That's what you need to understand. Even if you're going to be a sweeper, I would say that do it with heart and love. You are the best sweeper in the world. So that is the mantra I would say to the students. Irrespective of the work, do it to the level best. And I'm sure that it will take you to the next level. And the second important thing I would say is always aim higher. So if you want to get to a new level, start doing that level's work already. So it's not that you need a position to do that work. You can already do that work, so you move to that position. Then you will be the obvious choice to move to the next level. So that is also something I learned during my journey. And the third thing I would say is, when you move to the other position, also think the other way around. So when I speak with the team, rather than saying, do this work, I said, okay, this is the problem you want to solve. Let's gather as a team, try to solve it. Instead of doing all the delegations or dictating, it's more about working towards a solution together, or working, or it's not about directly jumping into a solution. Also understanding the problem and how can we solutionize. That is something you can do, and then always give them a bigger picture. Okay, what work you're doing, how is it going to contribute to the bigger picture? So as I did the other way around when I was a manager, then the team understood, okay, this is how our work is contributing to the bigger picture, and that led them to even work with a higher motivation. And then working with a program, the next role, it's even more tedious because a lot of stakeholder and alignment. Some tips there: be very open to listen to others. So if you want to be a good manager, you need to be a good listener, not a speaker. So always listen to ideas, understand their perspective, empathize on it. Don't be a no sayer. Of course, you can say no at critical points, but before listening to their idea, you should not say a no. Something valuable might come out of that. So that is a valuable tip I can give you. And also when managing people, or I would say I would call managing something not a right time. I would say collaborating with people. That's the right term. So ensure that identify the strengths in the team. What is the strength and what's the weakness of the team? When you are self-aware about that, then you can. It's all about like playing chess, where you strategically place the people in such a way that you tackle the problem together. You should not complain about having not the best strengths in the team, but with the capabilities you have, how you make a good team is what will be the winning team. And that's what I would say. And product is completely different because you need to think from a customer angle. So far, whatever I've done was internally within the team's angle, understanding the developers, understanding the QA, understanding the other PMs. But when you move to product, it's all about two things. Whatever you're building, the customer should like it. And whatever you're building should contribute to the business. Because without the business, you cannot exist. Without you cannot build great products. So that's where the essence of understanding the customer comes in. Again, a few aspects is the customer needs to find the product interesting. It should be easy to use. And then it should be technically feasible to build it, right? You cannot just aim building the metaverse in a month, right? It's all about what is possible with the strengths of your team, how you get that out. And then that should eventually yield the profit for your the company and the business you're working on. So
Right.
those are the dimensions.
Yeah. So on this note, right? So see now I have generated like 2 areas of interest, which I'm to majorly focus on the like I had as I showed, right, we had a different plan, but yeah, now as we are talking, I have just found out 2 areas of interest where I think even the students would get a lot of knowledge. That is, one is the management and second is the product. Yeah. So we'll go one by one, and then of course we'll talk about how students can follow this path, or they can take this path as a reference and start your studies right away and follow what Sunil has just said and is going to say, to make sure that you also start your journey on a similar notes, right? So moving on to the management, right? I have heard about a lot of management issues that happen at companies at this scale. And of course, because we all are humans, and a lot of things come like opinion difference, like people come from diverse backgrounds or diverse way of understanding. Not everyone is open to feedbacks, for that matter, right? And when you're on a certain level, like certain senior level, you have to deal with multiple kinds of people, right? So you have your juniors, you have freshers who, as you said, like they have just joined the company, but they might be working on one of their projects. Then you have your peers, and then you have your seniors. And I believe dealing with all these different kind of people equally has different challenges, right? How do you deal with that?
So, like you mentioned, when there is people coming from a diverse background with a different kind of skill set, obviously there will be a lot of, I would say, good opinions and bad coming out of it. And sometimes it's the strongest voice that wins in the room as well, because then they say that, okay, this is what you need to do, and then the people follow that as a direction. But I would see that as another way around to tackle that. Like I mentioned, being a listener, you understand what perspective they are coming from and why they are saying this.
Correct.
And sometimes even data is the greatest strength that you can play by. When you have this analytics of tracking on the people who is using your website or the mobile app, then you can always prove what people like. And then you can also use that as your key when you're discussing, when you're bringing discussions to the table. Show the data saying that, okay, this is what the data says, and if you do, this is what is going to happen. Probably we should try this out rather than not implementing this. And also new ways of testing, right, where you do the A/B testing, where you do only this change. Okay, whatever your idea, whatever you're saying, let's do an A/B test where your idea will be seen by 50% of the people, the rest of the 50 sees my idea. Let's try that out to see which excels, and using the data we'll make a good decision that works for the company as well as the customer. So that is a good way. Use always data to your strength. It's very, very critical to do that. And then also be very vocal about your ideas. It's not about when someone is saying you feel that okay, I should not be very vocal because he is someone who is more experienced in his career, then he probably comes with a new idea. It's not always like that. It's all about being vocal, even if you're less experienced or you're new to the field. If you find some idea, there's never a dumb idea. It's all about how the ideas evolve. So
Correct.
be very vocal to speak about that idea. So that is also something I learned. So the tips would be use the data to the key, be vocal about the ideas, and when something is not going the right way, just ensure that you always get into a meeting with the right framework of mind to achieve a decision. Because sometimes what happens is, okay, now the time has gone, let's book another meeting and discuss, and then it goes on for ever. It's called the analysis paralysis, where you just stay and analyze and you don't make decision at all, which is also bad. Even if something of a bad decision, just make it quick, learn from it, and move to the next instead of waiting to make a good decision. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I believe when you're working with a lot of folks with different level of skills, and there still might be possibilities when there were instances where you were working on some sprint or something, and then you ran into failure, right? Basically you are not able to deliver on time or something of that matter. So how do you handle failures? Like, because I have seen, as you mentioned, right, there is one way that either you can become a boss and you can start scolding the whole team, or either you can become a leader and just help them understand of what could have been improved and the consequences what we faced as a team. So how do you handle those? Because talking about startups, there is something like, still you have time, you can do it again. But when you're dealing, especially in companies like Volvo cars, and you mentioned, right, it is cross borders, you're handling multiple countries, you're handling multiple departments, and failures at that level do create a more impact. But how do you handle failures on that level?
So I would say be very transparent and proud to actually show your failures. So in fact, we also have a fail wall to quickly discuss on whatever the things we have failed and proudly display that. The reason being that the most important aspect of failure is you learn from it. You don't make it again. And the second most important aspect is how can you share the failures with others so they don't make it. So that is what the failures are meant to be. That's what my understanding is. And of course, every team, you cannot always develop successful products. Some kind of failure products come out. In fact, I was seeing a page on Amazon. They have a page of the failed products list where they had around 150 products which they have innovated and that never got shipped. So the important thing is be proud of your failures. That's what I would say. And then failures, it's not about if you are not meeting the timeline, then there should be some reason for it, right? Most of the companies, what they do is the Scrum teams have retrospectives. So, and then they don't have then they feel, okay, now I need to do development. Let's cancel the retrospective for this week and then move on with the development. But I feel retrospectives are really, really important, irrespective of spending 1 hour time. For people who are new to retrospective in a Scrum process, we all gather as a team in a room and then do a sticky notes saying that, okay, what went good, what went bad, and what's the thing we want to improve. So everyone will be vocal about it, what happened during the past 2 weeks. And then we discuss on the ideas and what did not go well and why did it not go well. And that's what we discuss. So retrospectives are really important, where your team needs a platform to be vocal on why it failed, because you cannot just assume things as a PM. Okay, then this is the reason for failure. It can never be that. It could be some other reason which you never know. So I feel retrospective is very important. It's not only for in a team, in a Scrum, but also for life. Just take a pause, because we all know with the mobile world, we keep running behind a lot of stuff, especially with the mobile app, using it or just thinking about the next part of life, or even working harder in companies. But sometimes you need to take a pause to reflect on what you're doing, what went well, what is wrong, what you want to improve on. And when you start doing that, both the life as well as the team get more enriched.
Got it. So next up, like I'd like to talk more about product strategy, because since you have been working a lot on that scope, right? So just a curious question, because we have seen tech evolve very rapidly, or you can say exponentially. So how do you align your product strategy with like overall company goals? Because there's a lot of thinking, a lot of brainstorming that goes into the whole process. So how do you do that? And were there any situations where you had to pivot your product strategy? Because there are, like, we still run into times that, okay, we have planned something for the next 3-4 months, but then there is sudden market change, and then you have to come back, sit down to the table, and again rediscuss and make some different pivot to your whole product. So have you also faced similar things while building a huge scale thing for Volvo?
So I would say definitely yes, because the world is changing in a very rapid phase with the emergence of AI and other technologies coming in, and also product strategies change because you always now the trend is electric cars, and every car company is trying to do that. Tesla was the forerunner there, trying to do that way past back the years. No one is able to catch up with Tesla yet, but still everyone wants to make a better world. They do electric cars now. How can we be more sustainable to the environment, and how can it also be more useful for the user who is having an electric car, especially in terms of charging? So he gets his car charged quickly, and then also uses it in a very good way where he can travel for a long distance. So I see the trend is emerging not only in Europe, it's also emerging in US, and in India. The prominence of electric scooters and cars is also something that was which I thought will take more time, but which was not the case. They are doing it at a very rapid pace. So when the just keep observing on what's happening around, the strategies also change, right? So vision, you as a company, you have a vision. Okay, this is what we do: make more electric cars, sell cars online, and then have a direct experience with the customer, not through much of a retailer experience. So that's what every company thinks now. And then strategy is all about how do you get to the vision. So it's a sequence of steps. So then you have small goals, big goals in the form of a bucket that you want to achieve. So you move towards the vision. So that's how strategy happens in a company, especially for a product. And then with the emergence of technology, so one pillar is about the external world, what's happening around you. You need to observe and then make it. The second pillar is about technology. Technology also emerges during this time, because what we call as a supercomputer in the 1960 had a very small MB of RAM, but what you have now is a terabytes of RAMs in a data center that can give you all the capabilities. Then the question is, how can you use your capabilities of technology or leverage on the technologies to spearhead? With the emergence of AI, I strongly believe that this is something that's going to change in a very rapid phase. If you remember the TV era, where the TV and the media came in, and the computer era, it took 10 years, and the mobile era took another 10 years. And whoever who missed out on the mobile era with the mobile app or the companies are already 10 years behind. But with the emergence of AI, it's going to be next 3 years are going to be very important in every in the terms of every company's thinking as well as for everyone's life. So I feel how can you tap on the potentials of this emerging technology and adapt to it in a very good way is something that can also be the way the strategy needs to be think upon. And the third factor is about people, because you can have a very good strategy, you can use the technology, but you need to have a good people, right? You need to motivate the person who work in the company, give them a career path, ask them whether they are really happy, because most of the times what we do is we don't ask or talk to the people. And especially with after the pandemic situation, the people working from home, they don't even meet the other team member or meet them once in 6 months or in a year. Then do you care about the mental health? What's the right state of mind they are in? Are they even in the right state of mind? What's their aspiration? Are you fueling their aspiration? So these are the questions you need to ask them. So we use a lot of tools in office, in Volvo, where we talk about the team engagement, ask for anonymous survey. Okay, what do you feel? Okay, if it's something that you want to talk about this project, what would that be? And if it's something that that's not working out in this office, what is that? So we ask them, then we get anonymous feedback. The managers, we sit, go through them, then find some ways to improve that feedback. So then it gives or instills the confidence that the next time the employees can also feel motivated to give more or be more vocal about the giving inputs to the survey. So that is more of a key. And then learning. So you should also give some time for your employees to learn. So what we do in our teams is Friday afternoons after 3:30, we allocate 1 hour of a learning window, and then support them with Coursera, Udemy licenses, where they can learn anything they like of their choice and do some sharing with the team. So because most of the time we just keep on running, it's like cutting the tree with the axe. We don't take time to sharpen the axe. Then you can cut the tree even more quicker, right? So that's the same way you need to. We are encouraging the teams to do that. So learning aspect comes out of that. Being vocal aspect comes out of the feedback, and then also do more of hackathons where new ideas can be explored and done in a quick way, and do a lot of team meets up, going for dinners outside, going for fun activities like laser dome or paintballs. So that's where the emergence of a team and the vibrance of the team gets created. It's not about talking in a stand-up or talking in a retrospective. It's when people meet and talk physically and emotionally, they can do a connection. That's when great things can be done with the team. So the third pillar is the people. Irrespective of whatever the technologies change or whatever the strategy the company is going to think, nothing can happen without people.
Correct. So my next question is like the thing that you mentioned in the previous answer, like about having the vision and a proper roadmap, right? So again, a similar question that you answered before, but still, how do you balance a long-term vision with a short-term product development needs? Because of course you cannot keep on building something for 2 years, because neither for 1 year. That is anyways a longer sprint, and I guess for now 6 months is also longer time, because you see companies shipping some or other thing every month or so, some other feature comes out. So how do you visionize something for a longer achievement of goals, but also have step by step sequence, as you mentioned, right? Sequencing is very important, right? So how do you create roadmap, product development roadmap for your own teams? And on the similar note, like as you mentioned it, people who are working on the teams are also important. So how do you also communicate the vision to the people? Like, because a lot of startups and a lot of founders face this issue, and even team leads face this issue, that as a founder or the team lead, you have something in your mind, like you have visionized something for the product, but either you lack in communicating or giving the clarity of what you want to achieve to the team, right? And that is where I guess you end up in creating something else that you did not imagine. And especially when you're working in a multinational setup, like working across countries. So how do you ensure that it is correctly happening, and there is like we overall achieve, as a whole team achieves the goal that you're planning for the long term?
So to answer that, we have a concept called OKR. It stands for objectives and key responsibilities, or the key results, they say. So what happens is when the company starts working on a vision document or a strategy document, then it gets cascaded to a department. Then the department needs to have some goals that is tied to the company strategy. For example, if you want to sell more electric cars, then the department's goal is to see how we can make that happen online. Because it's not only about the car production, it's all about how consumers can buy that car. So then the goal for the department is more fine-tuned towards making or selling the electric cars online. And then then it comes to the team, then what are the different teams who is working on different modules that can contribute to sell cars online? So then we have the objectives. that is well defined, that gets cascaded down. And then if it's a new idea, it can be the other way around. Let's say you want to track about the performance of your battery in the car. Then that could be a goal that everything is coming out with a term called as a battery passport. So when you sell the cars to others, you also need to understand, right, what's the life of the battery in that car. Then the battery passport is something that can actually help you. So new ideas also emerges from bottom up, not only always top down. So that's how you meet the balance. And the second thing is when these objectives are very clear, the team is also very clear on what objectives they are working on and how or what kind of work they do is contributing to the bigger objective. And then the key result. Here, it should not be more like a kind of an output. It should be more of an outcome-oriented key result. Example, let's say that you are working on an app. It's not about, okay, now we roll out the app to 100 countries. It's not that. It's more of an output, right? Then you say, okay, now I've done with 20 countries. I've done with 30 countries. But it should be more like an outcome. Okay, how does the user use that? Is he really satisfied with the app? Then we have this kind of a CSAT metric, customer satisfaction index, or NPS. Would you recommend this product to others? When you have those kind of a metric, which is more outcome, then you think about the ideas on how should you push the needle to improve the metric. It's not about rolling out to 100 countries and no one is using that. It's all about how you make more of an outcome-oriented result. So that's how this framework for OKRs help out. For students, I would say that just type out in Google about the OKRs and read about it. It's a very interesting framework on how companies use that. And also, like Prasad, you were mentioning, right? A lot of companies are doing frequent deployments. Now, every day or every 1 hour also, some companies are even going on with live with something. So it's even more agile nowadays. So I would say that it's all about proper structuring of these OKRs. So all the goals of different teams are connected to the bigger picture. And that's how you lead and drive a strategy. Otherwise, strategy driving can be really difficult if everyone is thinking about their own goals of a team, which is not connected to the company's bigger picture.
Great. So moving, like I have a few questions of marketing, but I'll skip that. But yeah, more towards, I guess, more important question I have is handling cross-functional team, like leading people from the diverse location, like diverse geographies. And the question is how do you foster effective communication collaboration between teams working from different locations, because you have to align everyone to the same goal, working on the same project. So how do you do that?
So I have a team where, like I mentioned, right, works out of different parts in Sweden as well as in India, and then some parts of US as well. So the collaboration, what we are sticking to is the stand-up is something that has been really working out in my product teams. So the product managers handle, where they have a constant time that matches quite often time zone capable way, where people can join the calls at the same time and discuss ideas. So that is one way where we align the time. So of course we need to take some compromises there in terms of adjustment. But you need to be very, very clear on having those kind of stand-ups, because that's when we discuss on what has worked out or what you did yesterday, what you're going to do today, and monitor if there are some blockers or risk that the product manager can help on. So I would say that has been helping out a lot in ensuring a cross-cluster collaboration. And then we also have kind of a town hall kind of thing within our cluster where me and my engineering partner come up with the idea that is being discussed in the top management and bring that to the team, so they also understand what's happening in our meetings. So that is what we bring this evangelism of all the or dispersion of communication happens. So that is one thing. And the second important factor I would say is also the team fun events, right? It doesn't mean you need to be in a real location to make the fun happen. So we do have the virtual FICAs here. The tea time is called as a FICA, where people gather from all around the world. We play some online games, team building activities during the time, like finding a location. We say a place and then need to locate in which part of the world it is. So those kind of engagements, when it happens on a casual basis, then you form the team bond. And then we also ensure that the people in India travel here once in a year, or we go to the different place, so they meet them in real. So I feel that physical connection is really important. At least when you start with the team, they need to meet with each other because the amount of connections that can happen physical always supersedes the virtual one. So I highly recommend that. And that has also worked out really good. And then in office here also, we have a culture where we meet and go to office several times in a week. Then we decide on a date where everyone can come to office and meet. So then the whole day we sit in the team area, discuss ideas and work together and go for coffee. So that can also work out really well, especially when you're working hybrid. It's you plan on a date, you meet, rather than everyone coming on their own days.
Yeah. So like now that you have discussed everything on your job, so the specification, right, that I was after management, my main focus would be product management. So before we go into questions for product management, right, could you just, for the people who are new and to the term, just explain what product management basically is in short?
Absolutely, Prasad. So product management is something that was not existing 10, 15 years ago. So if any companies, if you see, it was project managers. The PMs are called project managers, where you work on an estimation, budget, timeline to see whether a project proceeds and hit the defined timeline and get it launched to the market. So that was what was happening. And then we had another role, which is also quite prevalent in companies, called business analysts or BAs, where they work on the domain problem. So let's say that you are working for a banking firm. So if you want to do a credit risk, and then this BA will do, okay, this is how the credit risk process works on. Says that to the team, and then the developer understands and works on it. And then the project manager ensures that everything gets delivered right on time. So product is more of a mix of both, I would say, a project management hat as well as a business hat and analytics hat and UX hat. So it's many different hats you need to wear. So to simply put, a product management is like a kind of a captain of a ship where you need to steer the team towards the right destination. So that's what I would to say it in a very simple term. And you are responsible for owning the product. So everyone knows Sundar Pichai, right? He was a product manager. He grew up to be a CEO for Google. And how he did it was he launched innovative products like Chrome. When Internet Explorer was something that a lot of people were using, he brought in a new browser, and that was even more dynamic, faster. That actually led to a lot of good excellence in terms of browsing, and as well as bringing in the Android, which was something that Sundar Pichai did, which eventually elevated him to be a CEO. So it was a product manager, sometimes CEO of its own space, managing a product, excelling a product, which can actually contribute to the success of the company, and then you also get elevated. So a product manager, like I mentioned, wears multiple hats, and you need to have a different set of skill set, managing people, understanding about UX, managing analytics, speaking with the developers to get the work done, speaking with the QA to ensure that the product gets tested, speaking with the release team to ensure that the product in this market is getting launched. So it's multiple hats, and that's what makes it more interesting, because every day it's not like you do the same work. It's something of a new challenge coming in. And how do you tackle it to navigate to launch the product is what makes it even more interesting.
Right. So could you just also explain about the term, right? A lot of people must be hearing the small form of that, like MVP. Like,
Yes.
so what is MVP, and why is it like a lot of companies emphasize on building a MVP first rather than going into full-fledged development? And how important is it to getting your MVP right?
So MVP stands for minimum viable product, which means that the amount of validated learning you can get in within a short time frame with a small amount of work you do. That is called as an MVP. So for example, let's say that let's take Flipkart for an example, and you're launching a Flipkart app. The first thing you need to do is just see whether the people can buy online, right? So you do a product catalog and buying and integrate with the payment. So there's a small ways you test and build a product. You cannot just go extensively launching an AI immersive experience in Flipkart where you choose a dress and you choose a picture of yours and it shows the matching of how the dress can be done. You don't need to start building that first, right? So how can you test whether the Flipkart, let's say that Flipkart does not exist. How can you test whether the Flipkart, how can you make it work? So in order to build an MVP, what you do is, okay, are people interested in buying clothes online? That is the first hypothesis you need to validate. So how can you do that? So you don't need to build a product. You can just do a user sketching in forms of a low or a high fidelity prototype, go to different people or use usertesting.com, put the design out to see whether people actually make a click to actually like the product of buying clothes online. If you would have asked 10-12 years ago, no one was buying clothes online. Now everyone buys clothes only online, or a majority of people do that. So test that hypothesis, whether people will like it or not. Because sometimes what we fail to do is we don't test the hypothesis. Metaverse was something that Facebook launched, but the adoption rate was really low because even though it was more of a fancy virtual world, I'm not sure whether they did a light amount of hypothesis testing before they invested a lot of billions to do that. So it's all about testing your hypothesis. So do it in a very good way. So the way to do it is you don't need to build the product, build the sketches along with the UX designer. So you discuss the ideas on what problems you want to solve and put that out. And then that part get tested. And when you get that learning, then that's how you decide, okay, should I build this product really? Does customer use it? And then you start building the product. And for any ideas, Prasad, is you should not take more than 2 weeks to validate the idea. If it's some ideas, you should find a quick way to validate it instead of just building it and finding it no one is using it. So that's how you do it. And the minimum viable product should also be minimum lovable product. That's also most important. So just because you launch a product, for example, in our case, in volvocars, what we did was we launched this logged in experience. There was this personal information, a code page change. But does that bring value to the customer? Definitely not. It's all about, okay, if they can track the orders of the car after you place an order for a car, if they can track it in a good way on when they are going to get the car, that is more interesting for the user. Then we build the third module as that, and then launch the MVP instead of launching it only with the personal information. So it's all about what value you are providing to the customer and whether it's very quickly you can you try to build that to ship it and then learn from it and fail and reiterate. So that's what is most important when you build this minimum viable product.
Right. So I have also heard like recently I was reading some blog and I saw that recently this has come up very much that the thing that is called as over engineering, right? That the one time we have something called as MVP where you have to just test in a little bit time and see if that is going to make sense, and then we have a whole thing called as over engineering where we make things way complex than they should be. So have you ran into some of these situations where like things that you're planning to build have been over engineered and where to go and make them stop? Because this is not this is we are beyond building an MVP and we're getting into a pitfall or something.
Definitely, it has happened in several instances because sometimes or most of the times the developer wants to make it in a very perfect way. Because they take time to write a good code. For them, the excellence in writing a good code that does not need much of a refactorization later is what they would like to do. So then you need to strike a balance. Okay, if the good code takes a lot of months to do it, probably you should not do that. Start with something small, get it done, and then do refactoring a little later. So that's the kind of a mindset that I have been encouraging my developers to do. I'll promise you that you can work on the best code, refactor it, but not now. Just get launched with something, then we refactor and make it in the best possible way is one thing. And again, when I say that you can just go ahead and launch, it doesn't mean that you can go with something of a code that is more of a that has a more of a bugginess. So it's all about you meet the standards, but you don't have to be very excellent to launch that. Go in a way that it is in a way without any bugs that can be launched, and then probably make it better and reiterate or refactor a little later. So that's what I encourage to do. And most of the companies now do a lot of investments in the tech, especially with the AI emerging. They have no clue on how much of time they should use to build the product. For any product, if it's not going to be done within 6 months, I would say that you should stop with that and move on with the next. Because the testing the idea you can do, because the LLM also needs more of a training. So you can you need to fine tune the model before it starts giving you the right result. So that's the reason I said 6 months is the time window, at least for the AI-based product that you're doing. But don't be too or don't fall in love much with your solution. Find the problems and tackle it instead of just for sake of building a solution. You should not do that. Fall in love with the problems, not with the solution. Yeah.
Right. So just to close this segment, right? What is that you can say an advice for product managers so that you would like to give so that they can effectively manage scaled organization or people who are just starting off as product managers? What is that piece of advice that you have for them?
So I would say never think too small about yourself. Anyone can become a product manager, and I'm a true example sitting right in front of you. I was a QA, a developer, QA engineer, delivery lead, then a product. So anyone can be a product manager. So that is a firm belief you need to have. And the second thing, most important thing is you need to believe that you are a product manager first. Because most of the time we have this imposter syndrome where you think that, okay, you won't be able to do that. Or whether you will be in a doubt whether you can do that. So firmly believe that you are a product manager, then you will be one. So that is my second tip. And for third tip, there is plenty of resources that is available online where you can learn to be a product manager. But one book I suggest for anyone who wants to be a product manager is Inspired by Marty Kagan. That's how I learned my product. A really interesting book. It talks in a very practical way on how you can build products that every tech company can love and build it on the same way. So I would suggest them to start with that. And then always keep persevering. Even if you're not getting something now, eventually will reach out a destination where things are going to happen for you.
Right. So on this, since we're closing on the product management segment, now coming to the very important part of any business for that matter is the people. And as you mentioned, right, people are very important because your companies, because they are there, right? So it is, I guess, equally important to choose the right set of people, right? And so what, just like I believe you would have, of course, been part of a lot of hiring drives or placement cells at your company, where you would have interviewed a lot of folks for that matter. So what qualities do you value most in the potential hires for your product teams?
So yes, I've been in a lot of interviewing process and hiring, right from the time when I was a tech lead to a product. So I've done interviews for a lot of different roles in my career. So one thing that we look for is the passion and energy. Even if you don't know the technology, if you have the right mindset that you can learn the technology, so that is the most important thing. Learning how much of a learner you are. That is, and then whether you have the right passion. That is one thing. And the second thing is about the mindset, whether you are doing it right for sake of getting the money or is it something you do with love. So that's the most important thing, because great products are a great kind of a work, irrespective of whatever work you do in any field. You can excel in it only when you start not treating that as a job, but treating it with love, because that is what
Correct.
you're going to do most of the life, right? 80% of the time of your time you are awake, you're going to spend in your office. So do that with love and passion. Identify, if you're not able to identify, try out different things. Only when you try out different things, then you can identify what's your passion. And when you start identifying that, find opportunities in that area. That's how you can excel. Money is not definitely a motive. Money is always a byproduct. Remember that. Don't go after money. If you are going to excel in whatever you're going to do, money will come to you. You don't have to go behind the money. So that's the second tip I would say. And the third thing is always keep abreast with the technologies. Technologies change. So always be a learner and keep looking out for what's happening around you, how great companies are building their products. Look out for information. If 20 years ago you don't have that information, but now you have every information in your hand. It's a matter of time you search for it. So look out and keep looking out for learning new things always that can elevate you to a different position.
Right. So like there's one thing, right? And I believe you must have also seen this on internet. They talk about DSA and
Yeah.
whether big companies still ask a DSA. And so, what is your take on, like, how important does the DSA play a role in the whole hiring process? And have you, just a curious question, is every candidate asked a question on DSA? It is like a pure luck. Like if you have a bad luck that day, that you're going to get tested on DSA, something of that sort.
So I would say now it's not like one interview that you make or break. Every role that you take has several rounds of interview, and it's
Correct.
also different people doing that. So it's not like I'm making a decision to hire someone. It's four other PMs along with me who do the interview. Then we sit in a room, discuss, and challenge each other sometimes. Yes. If three says yes for that candidate and one says no, then the person who says no has to challenge and say why he's saying no, and try to convince the other people on why his no is more stronger than the yes they have. So we have a set of framework. Every product company has that, where they do a product sense interview, technical acumen, collaborations, leadership, and you need to navigate through different paths to get to or crack that job. So every company has a strong set of frameworks that they want to do. So that is the most important thing. So it's not about you failing in one interview. It's about how you scale through the different levels of interview, especially for big companies and good companies that you want to work for. And I see the trend is also changing everywhere in the world. Previously, in the developer round of interview, you just go to the interview. They ask what is the difference between what is an array or what is a stack, and then they talk about those things and what is a list and what's the difference between array. That's how things have been when I was interviewing for TCS, where you can just mug up the interview questions and then just go there and say that. But now what they do is they give you a practical challenge in the form of assignments, where you need to write a code, bring up a quick solution, and then put it out. And that's how your interviews are evaluated. So it's more and more of a practical experience. So that's also the most important thing I want to say in this call is learning is something you should not go well by the books. It happens outside as well. And most of them, what we do is we do all this kind of weird way of learning in India, where you just mug up the entire book, go to the semester examination, and just put that out. But it's completely different. Whatever you're learning, make sure you understand and learn. Don't do a rote learning, because this is what I have been doing all my life, even when I did my college or my school. But get away from that, because life is totally different when you get out. So whatever you learn, make sure you understand and learn. Just don't go for the sake of learning and just for the sake of getting good grades for passing. That might work out in a short term for a while to pass your examination, but for life, I wouldn't say it won't work out at all.
Right. So a connecting question to this, right, just for the hiring, and then we close the hiring segment. Right. There's also a need, and this is something that we have heard from a lot of hiring managers, that there's also a requirement of equal importance to be given to soft skills rather than just technical skills, right? So as per your like in your opinion, like how important or what would be the distribution that you would give to technical skills versus soft skills out of 100 percentage for that matter? Because it is not because tech, of course, I believe tech you could also learn on the way, but soft skills have to be something that you should have right before you join the company. That would, I guess, you help you grow better, faster, and make better connections.
Definitely, Prasad. Soft skills is something really important now. You can be a very good coder, techie guy, but if you're not going to listen to others or do what or come into a consensus to do something, then the product will not get out. So you're a failure then. So in that case, soft skills is quite vital, because it's not an individual who is contributing; it's about the team who is winning. So soft skills is if you were to ask me, at least my personal opinion is, if a soft skill, a person with a good soft skill, and then there's another person with the tech skills, but with a 20% of soft skill, I will go with someone who has a soft skill, because soft skill is where you do all the learning, collaboration, teamwork, and if you can get this right, then the other part you can actually do it with ease, or learn it when you get to the work. Of course, you should need to have some kind of a basic skill set. You cannot just have only the soft skill to attend and crack a job or join a job. You need to have the basic things of understanding the framework, what role you're applying, have some relevant technical skills, because you cannot survive only with the soft skill. But the soft skill is more of a complement that can enrich your tech skills.
Right. Great. So I guess guys, that answers your question, right? Because a lot of folks are now interested. Okay, because, and I believe rather than interested, a lot of people don't emphasize on these things right now when you're preparing for interviews. They just prep for the apti or quanti questions and just let aside the soft skill. But I believe the interviewers are more interested on how the way you walk in the room, the calm composure that you have, and the way you answer back, even if you do not know the answers, the way you handle that situation, or for that matter, how are you having that conversation, that shows the kind of person that you are. And as you mentioned, right, technical skill, something that you can of course master over time, right? So yes, and then I guess, that was all for this whole thing. And now we have something, the buzzing thing in the market right now, AI. And as we all know, right, the past few years we have had an exponential, you can say, growth in terms of AI, with the LLM models, GPT, Gemini, a lot of stuff coming out. So, and I believe AI has also impacted every possible domain that is out there, in some good and bad terms. So just wanted to understand from you, right, how has AI and ML influenced product management, the whole domain for that?
Absolutely, Prasad. Now there is also a fear that AI will replace a lot of jobs. Like there is a famous saying, right? AI is not going to replace jobs; it's going to replace people who does not use AI. So,
Yeah.
so that is
So
the
that
most
is, I guess,
interesting part.
I believe that is just like the excuse that people are now using, to be very blunt and honest, that you
Yeah,
can't blame AI. AI is there to complement you. It should rather make you do better things off than doing the monotonous things that you were rather doing, right?
yes,
Something like cleaning the Excel sheets or making structures or doing some daily logging stuff. You could just automate that stuff and focus on to something more. And I believe, in my opinion, that AI is not going to take jobs, but rather you would be better off if you learn how you could make AI complement the things that you're doing.
absolutely, Prasad. Like we were talking, AI comes in every field, or even if you don't want it, it's going to happen. That's for sure. Because every company started doing strategy work based on AI. And AI is definitely not going to be a replacement of you. It's more about how you can use that as a co-pilot. I would call that more of a co-pilot. So
Correct.
let's say that you're flying a flight, and then if you have a good co-pilot, then you can also use their capabilities to actually fly the flight in a good way. So AI is going to be more of that. It's going to support the developers with the development, where they can do faster coding. Or for a product manager, it could be more of how can you analyze tons of data that you get out of your tracking. AI can definitely help and help you to derive a decision or come into a conclusion in a very faster way. So you don't have to spend your time on spreadsheets understanding the data. And then with the market research and understanding the customer, there is a plenty and plenty of market research materials out. How can you get the condensed information out of it? With an AI algorithm, you can definitely do that. It's going to sparse through the different data, bring out what is meaningful. So everything can be put to your advantage of doing things in a very faster way. So that's what I feel more from a product perspective, from a user strategy learning, or from doing your analytics work in a very faster way, where you can make great decision in a faster time, is what AI is going to definitely help. So, from a product perspective, it could be two ways. One, building the actual product of AI. So that is something different. But what I'm speaking is all about how you can leverage on the capabilities of AI to your everyday work. So AI can manage your calendar. It can take meeting notes and document. So most of the times, product managers, it's not about the ideas. You also need to document some stuff so others can understand what
Right.
you're thinking. And AI can come very handy to write for you. You just have to put the context out. It records and writes it for you, and then you can make some small tweaks. Or it could be the other way around, where you record the meeting, then the meeting notes AI is going to prepare for you, so you don't have to spend some time. So most of your productive time as a product manager, because as a product manager you don't have time at all. You have 40 hours of meeting every week, and the entire calendar is occupied. And after your meetings are done, then you do the real work. So when everyone sleeps in your family, or when the meetings are done, that's how the life of a PM is. But those capabilities is going to give you an advantage where you can save some time. So you focus on the real core vital parts rather than doing all this mundane task.
Uh, so as you mentioned it, just on a curious note, how is AI deployed in just if you could just tell about few scenarios how Volvo cars is utilizing AI. Just I'm majorly interested into the, let's say, the segment that you're working in, that is the web UI experience, the user experience. How have you implemented AI in that sort?
So I would say there is a lot of strategy work that's happening, which I cannot reveal for the sake of
Of
NDA.
course, sure.
That is happening. But again, to put the very as a short, we are working to see how we can enable the collaboration better in the forms of chatbots, where we can use AI to answer the people's queries, or help the customer care agent to find the manuals with a lot of information from a wide range of material he has. So that's what we are trying to use the AI capability. Of course, developers have started using the Copilot, which is also quite handy. And then PMs are using AI for writing their notes and for documentations through AI documentation softwares. So that's how we are using in a very small way within the teams. But again, the bigger vision and strategy is what is happening. But for purpose of NDA, I cannot reveal more on that.
No worries, sure. I
But
guess
yeah, right from but I can simply say, put it in a way that it happens right from the way you make cars, or how you set up the robots in the factory, to the way you sell the cars online, So it happens on every departments in a way. How can you leverage on those capabilities? And every
Right.
automotive company is doing that. Not only every company is doing that. They have a good strategy, and most of the time they don't discuss the strategy until it is launched, because you never know on what ChatGPT or what's in the making until they launch.
Moving on to the last segment is like helping out students who are just seeing this session, right? So for students and the recent graduates like who are aspiring to enter the tech industry, like what are those, you can say, core foundational skills that you believe are crucial for, so that they have a good foundation in tech?
So I would say your work life is going to fill a major part of your life, and you need to be very satisfied in the work you do. And the only way to be satisfied with your work is doing what you love, right? So don't settle until you find your passion. Keep looking for it, and as the years progresses, right, definitely something will work out for you. And that's what I would say: find your passion. So that's my core mantra. Irrespective of whatever field you like, just find what you like. That's the most important thing. And with respect to skill sets, always keep learning. Have this mindset of uh, extended learning, so it does not end when you get a job. Learning is something that is going to go on until you die. So just keep learning and find your interest and learn on that aspect and play by your strength. So you don't just because if AI is emerging, don't put all your heart in learning AI, and you don't feel more interested to learn AI, but you're learning for the sake of learning. Don't do that. I have like my example of my life on how I chose my projects and how I
Yeah,
chose my profession just because I can get quick money should not be the case. So just follow your passion and like what you do, even if you do a job that is quite not very well recognized. If you have the passion and love, put all your heart and soul into it and do it. Eventually, money will follow, and also all the recognition.
right. And a similar question on this note, like what role do you think mentorship plays in developing individual's career? This question is not specific to tech, but yeah, for any individual for that matter in any domain,
Yeah.
how important is mentor, like finding a good mentor for that matter?
I would say now with ADP list and TopMate, you can find any mentor you want. Let's say you want to find and speak with or talk with a developer in US working for Google or Microsoft. You can still do that. Book a session with them, talk for 15-20 minutes, learn from them. So mentorship is a really crucial part, especially if you are imparting whatever the mistakes you made to the next set of people or next generation. So I would say finding the right mentor is also crucially important. Now this platform offers a lot of reviews where you can find the right mentor, have a casual conversation, and find whether you have this kind of a the camaraderie with which you can interact with the other person. And if you feel that you have this kind of a chemistry between you and the mentor, then that can work out really magical for you, because everyone had a great mentors, whoever who has excelled in life or who has been running big startups. So the only thing I remember Steve Jobs saying is when he was working, he used to call Hewlett Packard's manager when he was working on a pet project of him when he was 12 years old, and then he got hired as an intern there because he had interest in that. So it's all about asking. Don't shy away from asking for help. If you feel that you don't know something, ask. If you feel that you want to learn something, ask. If you feel that something is not working out, ask. So it's all about asking. Don't shy away from that. So that is also most important message I want to convey.
Right. So talking about quality experts, right? So we are going to just leave the link to Sunil's top mate. I guess, yeah, right. This side in the top and also in the description down below. So all the folks who are interested in talking more to him in person or booking a one-on-one call, and also getting connected with him or sharing your story and listening to his story and how he can help you, and all the folks who are basically looking to become product manager or want to venture into that whole field, we have the guy who can help you do that, who has conquered that, and of course help you. So we are going to leave the link to his top mate down below. You can just go and schedule a call for 15 minutes or so and just have a casual conversation and take things ahead from there.
So I would say, yeah, there are ways. If you want to work for Volvo, and if you have the right talent, then there is a way that I can give you on the or show you on how can you apply to get into the process of getting hired in Volvo. That is something I can help. And then, yeah, if you prove your metal, then probably someday yeah, you will be working along with me in Volvo.
Great. Such an insightful and amazing conversation. And thank you, Sunil, for the whole time. And I hope all the students are watching this, and all the people, not the students, everyone is watching this, has gained a huge, you can say, tons and tons of information on what struggle actually means, what is consistency, what is persistence, and what things that you can achieve with just making right decisions. And of course it is okay to make mistakes, and getting back on the path, getting right mentors, getting proper guidance, and just striving forward and reaching your goals is something that is very important. And yes, we'll be bringing more and more such experts to you to share their insights, share their story with you. And again, once again, thank you so much, Sunil, for being here and taking out this time and sharing all your journey with us.
Absolutely, Prasad. One final word from me. It was a real pleasure talking with you for the past 2 hours, Prasad, and to share my experiences. It also gave me a reflection time to see what path I have come through. And like I mentioned, I'm also not going to stop here. I will also want to do all the learnings to see how I can contribute to the company I work for, and also for the world I live in. And one final say I would say is, if you're going to get a seat in a rocket ship, don't ask which seat. Just get into the rocket ship.
Correct.
It's going to take you somewhere. So even if you don't know something, if someone is offering you an opportunity, just pick it up and then learn, rather than learning and picking it up.
So with that inspirational quote, we are going to close this segment. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll be back in the next podcast with some another voice from Silicon Valley. Thank you everyone joining. Thank you, Sunil. It has been an amazing session for us. Bye bye.
Likewise.
Have a great day and see you in the next one.
Thank you all.
Product perspective, from a user strategy learning, or from doing your analytics work in a very faster way where you can make great decision in a faster time, is what AI is going to definitely help. So, from a product perspective, it could be two ways. One, building the actual product of AI. So that is something different. But what I'm speaking is all about how you can leverage on the capabilities of AI to your everyday work. So AI can manage your calendar. It can take meeting notes and document. So most of the times, product managers, it's not about the ideas. You also need to document some stuff so others can understand what
Right.
you're thinking. And AI can come very handy to write for you. You just have to put the context out. It records and writes it for you, and then you can make some small tweaks. Or it could be the other way around, where you record the meeting, then the meeting notes AI is going to prepare for you, so you don't have to spend some time. So most of your productive time as a product manager, because as a product manager you don't have time at all. You have 40 hours of meeting every week, and the entire calendar is occupied. And after your meetings are done, then you do the real work. So when everyone sleeps in your family, or when the meetings are done, that's how the life of a PM is. But those capabilities is going to give you an advantage where you can save some time. So you focus on the real core vital parts rather than doing all this mundane task.
Uh, so as you mentioned it, just on a curious note, how is AI deployed in just you could, if you could just tell about few scenarios how Volvo cars is utilizing AI. Just I'm majorly interested into let's say the segment that you're working in, that is the web UI experience, the user experience. How have you implemented AI in that sort?
So I would say there is a lot of strategy work that's happening, which I cannot reveal for the sake of
Of
NDA.
course, sure.
That is happening. But again, to put the very as a short, we are working to see how we can enable the collaboration better in the forms of chatbots, where we can use AI to answer the people's queries, or help the customer care agent to find the manuals with a lot of information from a wide range of material he has. So that's what we are trying to use the AI capability. Of course, developers have started using the Copilot, which is also quite handy. And then PMs are using AI for writing their notes and for documentations through AI documentation softwares. So that's how we are using in a very small way within the teams. But again, the bigger vision and strategy is what is happening. But for purpose of NDA, I cannot reveal more on that.
No worries, sure.
But
I guess
right from but I can simply say, put it in a way that it happens right from the way you make cars, or how you set up the robots in the factory, to the way you sell the cars online. So it happens on every departments in a way. How can you leverage on those capabilities? And every
Right.
automotive company is doing that. Not only every company is doing that. They have a good strategy, and most of the time they don't discuss the strategy until it is launched, because you never know on what ChatGPT or what's in the making until they launch.
Correct. Correct. So like moving before moving to the last segment, that is advising students on how they can start their tech career, I rather have a very curious question that I have been holding back from this time. Like I got to know, okay, I'm going to speak with someone from Volvo cars. Is what is up with this car testing? uh like I have seen Volvo cars, destroying so many cars for testing. Like what is it like? Have you seen that happening, or like what is actually, like, why is
Yes,
it like?
yes, I have seen that happening. So they do also drop a car from 30 feet. I'm not sure whether you have seen the crane
Yeah,
video,
yeah,
but
I've seen they lift it from the crane and just throw it from all the sides.
yes, I feel that's one of the core values of the company. If you ask what Volvo is, everyone will say it stands for safety. And
Correct.
we have saved almost 1 million lives through Volvo with a 3 point safety factor belt. So the car seat belt that you wear when you drive the car came out of innovation from Volvo, and
Yeah, yeah, I've heard about it.
they never patented it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
could have done, and they could have earned a lot of millions for patenting it, but they never did that because they felt they want to give back to the society and they want to give back to the human cause. So, as safety is one of the foremost factor, Volvo wants to try all the things, because you can do all a kind of a metrics using a computer to just test something. Okay, this car is sturdy, but in real life, you might have a lot of different use cases on how you can get into an accident and what will happen if you are in an accident. So the point is there should be zero deaths in the car when you drive a Volvo, and then the way we make it is to ensure that it's even more of a sturdy car. It's also about a lot of new features. If there is an accident well ahead, how can your car know that there is an accident? So, and
Okay.
then when you open the car's door, then you need to ensure that there is no bicyclist coming from them. How can you alert before you open the door? And a lot of new features that's coming out of Volvo to support that we drive the car in a safe way. And with the autonomous car, it's completely a new question on how can you make the car safe. So that's what we have been all working on. And I feel that the reason Volvo does such a things is we want to ensure that we make good cars that is trustable, and we want to maintain the trust for a company that is 97 years old. We still stand for trust and the safety, and we want to ensure that we do anything to make or sustain by that value.
Great. I guess that answers a lot of, because I guess there's a lot of curiosity, because there's
Yeah,
just rounds of videos on the internet.
yeah.
Volvo just throwing the cars, just rolling them around, dropping them from a height, right? And a lot of like people like us say like, wow, now one more car is gone, one more car. They would have just given it to someone,
But
right? But as you mentioned, right, trust
yeah,
and security,
trust, security,
right?
safety, and then also we need to ensure, right? The only when you test it in a real way, all the scenarios, then you get to know what can happen in an accident,
So
and they
how,
want
how
to.
much time does how much time does one car go into testing? Just a curious question. If you know about it, like
So
how
for
much?
every car, they have a. I'm not quite sure about the testing window, to be frank, but they have at least 3 4 months of they do a testing of different parameters, the speed testing.
Wow,
They do a lot of other testings as well within the factory to ensure that everything gets built in the right way. So they do as far as I know, they do a multiple levels of testing before you get the car out.
I guess that must have been a very exciting experience to see this all happening. But yeah, moving on to the last segment is like helping out students who are just seeing this session, right? So for students and the recent graduates like who are aspiring to enter the tech industry, like
Mm.
what are those, you can say, core foundational skills that you believe are crucial for, so that they have a good foundation in tech?
So I would say your work life is going to fill a major part of your life, and you need to be very satisfied in the work you do. And the only way to be satisfied with your work is doing what you love, right? So don't settle until you find your passion. Keep looking for it, and as the years progresses, right, definitely something will work out for you, and that's what I would say. Find your passion, So that's my core mantra, irrespective of whatever field you like. Just find what you like. That's the most important thing. And with respect to skill sets, always keep learning. Have this mindset of uh, extended learning, so it does not end when you get a job. Learning is something that is going to go on until you die. So just keep learning and find your interest and learn on that aspect and play by your strength. So you don't just because if AI is emerging, don't put all your heart in learning AI, and you don't feel more interested to learn AI, but you're learning for the sake of learning. Don't do that. I have like my example of my life on how I chose my projects and how I
Yeah,
chose my profession just because I can get quick money should not be the case. So just follow your passion and like what you do, even if you do a job that is quite not very well recognized. If you have the passion and love, put all your heart and soul into it and do it. Eventually money will follow, and also all the recognition.
right. And a similar question on this note, like what role do you think mentorship plays in developing individual's career? This question is not specific to tech, but yeah, for any individual for that matter in any domain,
Yeah.
how important is mentor, like finding a good mentor for that matter?
I would say now with the ADP list and TopMate, you can find any mentor you want. Let's say you want to find and speak with or talk with a developer in US working for Google or Microsoft. You can still do that. Book a session with them, talk for 15-20 minutes, learn from them. So mentorship is a really, really crucial part, especially if you are imparting whatever the mistakes you made to the next set of people or next generation. So I would say finding the right mentor is also crucially important. Now this platform offers a lot of reviews where you can find the right mentor, have a casual conversation, and find whether you have this kind of a the camaraderie with which you can interact with the other person. And if you feel that you have this kind of a chemistry between you and the mentor, then that can work out really magical for you, because everyone had a great mentors, who has excelled in life, or who has been running big startups. So the only thing I remember Steve Jobs saying is when he was working, he used to call Hewlett Packard's manager when he was working on a pet project of him when he was 12 years old, and then he got hired as an intern there because he had interest in that. So it's all about asking. Don't shy away from asking for help. If you feel that you don't know something, ask. If you feel that you want to learn something, ask. If you feel that something is not working out, ask. So it's all about asking. Don't shy away from that. So that is also the most important message I want to convey.
Right. So talking about quality experts, right? So we are going to just leave the link to Sunil's top mate. I guess, yeah, right. This side in the top and also in the description down below. So all the folks who are interested in talking more to him in person or booking a one-on-one call, and also getting connected with him or sharing your story and listening to his story and how he can help you, and all the folks who are basically looking to become product manager, want to venture into that whole field, we have the guy who can help you do that, who has conquered that, and of course help you. So we are going to leave the link to his top mate down below. You can just go and schedule a call for 15 minutes or so and just have a casual conversation and take things right from there, right? So before we end this thing, right, I have again one curious question, maybe absurd one, but still I'll take this opportunity to ask you, but I do not know when I'll get this opportunity again. So what do you have to do in Volvo to get a free car from Volvo? Like I have been,
Yeah, I think yeah, this quite a yeah of a question I need to think actually.
has there been any instances where Volvo has gifted cars?
They do, yeah, for the Super Bowl event in US. Yeah,
No,
they
not for the
have
events. I'm talking about employees. Like you achieve this things in the company, you do this things in the company. Okay, here is the key to the new Volvo. Something of that. Just a quick question.
there's actually a company car policy where, as an employee, you get some benefit on a monthly basis where you can get a Volvo if you're working in Sweden. So that is something that is possible, but definitely not a car for free. As you know that, yeah, car selling is really getting tougher. It's not like every product like in Amazon you buy for a day, but cars you buy once in 2 or 3 years and then you change it.
Correct.
So I would say, yeah, there are ways if you want to work for Volvo, and if you have the right talent, then there is a way that I can give you on the or show you on how can you apply to get into the process of getting hired in Volvo. That is something I can help. And then yeah, if you prove your mettle, then probably someday yeah, you will be working along with me in Volvo.
Great. Such an insightful and amazing conversation. And thank you, Sunil, for the whole time. And I hope all the students are watching this, and all the people, not the students, everyone is watching this, has gained a huge, you can say, tons and tons of information on what struggle actually means, what is consistency, what is persistence, and what things that you can achieve with just making right decisions. And of course, it is okay to make mistakes, and getting back on the path, getting right mentors, getting proper guidance, and just driving forward and reaching your goals is something that is very important. And yes, we'll be bringing more and more such experts to you to share their insights, share their story with you. And again, once again, thank you so much, Sunil, for being here and taking out this time and sharing all your journey with us.
Absolutely, Prasad. One final word from me. It was a real pleasure talking with you for the past 2 hours, Prasad, and to share my experiences. It also gave me a reflection time to see what path I have come through. And like I mentioned, I'm also not going to stop here. I will also want to do all the learnings to see how I can contribute to the company I work for, and also for the world I live in. And one final say I would say is, if you're going to get a seat in a rocket ship, don't ask which seat. Just get into the rocket ship.
Correct.
It's going to take you somewhere. So even if you don't know something, if someone is offering you an opportunity, just pick it up and then learn, rather than learning and picking it up.
So with that inspirational quote, we are going to close this segment. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll be back in the next podcast with some another voice from Silicon Valley. Thank you everyone joining. Thank you, Sunil. It has been an amazing session for us. Bye bye.
Right.
Have a great day and see you in the next one.
Thank you all.